I absolutely hate when I can't use a damn intro because the Mets decide to not show up offensively once again. I mean, what is this? Now the third straight series or no, maybe wait, let me do the math. Yeah, it's a third straight series where the Mets dropped the opening game against an absolute bottom feeder in a lesser opponent because they won the first game of the National Series. Then they dropped the first game in Pittsburgh. They dropped the first game in Miami. And now they dropped the first game at home to kick off a 7-game homestand, all against subpar teams. How's it going, everybody? Thank you all so much for being in here for the latest post-game show here on WardyNYM. Yoshima, thank you so much for the dono. He says, disappointing loss. Not the end of the world. Come back tomorrow and Wednesday, take the series, and everything will be fine. While I agree, this was really a frustrating loss, an annoying loss for a Mets team that, again, had all the momentum in the world. And that is, as I always say, the beauty and the curse about being a baseball fan. You see the Mets win yesterday, having another big win in their series victory over Miami. You see the Mariners somehow, some way come back after the Braves came back, scoring 5 runs in the top of the ninth to get the lead just for the Mariners to walk it off with the back-to-back bombs from Julio Rodriguez and then, of course, Eugenio Suarez. All Mets fans were living their best life over this past weekend. But now today we come back to reality. That, again, is the beauty and the curse of being a Mets fan. Appreciate everyone chopping in. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe on. As always, folks, I don't expect the chat to be anything less of toxic tonight, so I do apologize if I'm going to have a lack of interaction here. I'm not happy with how the Mets performed today. I don't think any Mets fan is. There were some positives today, but they really weren't on the offensive front outside of Eduardo Escobar staying hot with now his 10-game hitting streak. Along with elite defense, Eddie has been playing the best baseball of this season all year long. It's great to see him going. James McCann even had another solid day at the plate. Francisco Lindor hit that bomb of the ninth. What the effing do? Too little, too late. When you leave the amount of runners that the Mets left stranded today, when they could not hit the rookie Assad, who granted had some nice stuff, but doesn't change the fact that the Mets could not get anything going here. You only have yourselves to blame. Yes, Chris Bassett had one of his worst starts of the season, easily one of his worst starts in months. But when you don't score more than one measly run, how much am I going to pinpoint that on Seabass? Yes, it might have thrown off the rhythm to start the game, but the Mets had their opportunities. They blew it. They deserve this loss wholeheartedly. And again, they only have themselves to blame. So, guys, I'm going to be breaking down everything you need to know, sadly, about this Mets loss tonight. We'll see how the Braves fare in this Game 1 in San Francisco against the Giants. The Mets will be in first place today, regardless on the outcome of that game. It's just a matter of if they'll stay a game and a half up if the Braves lose 2, or if they'll just be a half game up if the Braves win. And with the Braves having Spencer Strider on the mound, wouldn't be surprising at all if in fact, the Braves do win the ball game. But again, appreciate everyone chiming in, guys. This will not be a long show. We're only going to go for like 20 to 30 minutes tops. I'm not doing I'm not going to cut things off for people on replay. Again, I don't even want to be doing this show. It always sucks. Braves are down by 2. That's good. But again, we all know that the Braves can, of course, score runs late in games. So I'm not going to get my hopes up yet. This was just a frustrating loss for a Mets team that absolutely should have blown the doors open against the Cubs. And I'm someone that has given benefit of the doubt in previous times where the Mets had their first game going from an away trip to home without an off day. But, I mean, when you're facing a team like the effing Chicago Cubs, Anthony Recker on our podcast earlier today said it best. And make sure to check it out, guys, if you haven't already. It was a great conversation. Lots of laughs on Recker's debut, especially that he broke down back in 2011 in Yankee Stadium when he was in Oakland A. But the point I'm trying to make is that this is the Cubs, okay? Same way it was the Pittsburgh Pirates. Same way it's the Miami Marlins. Same way when you drop that series to the Washington Nationals. I mean, there are literally zero excuses for how this team has been playing, and they need to be better. It's pathetic that, again, they cannot win these. The Mets were the best team in baseball entering their series against the Dodgers this year in games 1 of a series. The Mets entered that series, I believe, 31-10 on the year in opening games of a series. And since then, they free-falled in opening games. Now the Mets are 5-5 out of the 10 of 16 game stretch they have against well below 500 clubs. They need to be better. They need to be consistent. The consistency just hasn't been there for this team, and it's really getting pathetic. I'm losing my mind. I'm fed up, quite frankly, on how they are performing to open up series. I mean, again, Seabass was not good today. There's no sugarcoating it. He could not locate at all. Really got roughed up a bit, gave up some bombs that we'll get into shortly. Was a walks machine a bit for the first time in forever. I mean, but still, Still, when the offense puts up 2 measly runs, I said 1, I meant to say 2, because I'm already forgetting about that Lindor home run, because it's not like it meant anything. Where was a bomb like that when you had bases loaded, no outs in the 8th, huh? You don't get it then. All right, guys, let's break down this game, because a lot of things happen in this Mets game. And again, I want to give credit to the Mets bullpen, because they were without question the unsung heroes today. With Seabass only going 3.2 scoreless, the Mets had a total of 11 strikeouts on the Cubs today. Bullpen was phenomenal, and it sucks because it's like, of course the Mets bullpen is balling out when you get no offense. It's like, why can't we have these things at the same time? Oh, Joely Rodriguez pitches a scoreless inning with 2 strikeouts. Where was that, Joely, when we need it? Where was that in the first game that you saw there against the Marlins in Miami when it was a 1-run ball game? Again, he should not have been at that spot in the 8th, but it's just at the wrong time. Michael Givens is getting better and better, which is definitely positive. But out of that, there's very little positives take from this game, guys. Darren Ruff, I know, continues to be useless. We know that story. I would have liked Vientos in that spot. At this rate, how can you go wrong? How can you go wrong by putting a rookie up in that spot? At worst, at absolute worst, he doesn't get yourselves a run scored with 2 outs there. But there's zero pressure on him in that spot from a Mets fan perspective, at least, because we know what to expect with Ruff right now, because he's just not in it. Again, if you get anything from Vientos, then great. But I don't think there's going to be any fans griping if you put Vientos in that spot there in the 8th when you know how piss poor Ruff has been. And if there are fans out there that have the audacity to say that, oh, I would have liked Ruff in there over Vientos, stop calling that's complete BS. We all know that's complete BS. You're just trying to nitpick something. There were plenty to nitpick from this game. But it was just a little thing like that. Again, that wasn't the story of the game. The story of the game for the Mets was, again, leaving runners on. It didn't start in the 8th, but it was more amplified in the 8th when the Mets had a golden opportunity and did nothing. They showed nothing with it. So the Mets game starts at Chris Bassitt on the mound, facing off against Javier Assad, who, again, the rookie right-hander, very solid stuff, has some, again, he was throwing some pitches down the pipe that the Mets couldn't hit, and then the Mets were swinging at his balls, either down and in or away. I mean, that's good pitching if you ask me, and that just shows you the Mets not being locked in today offensively. Chris Bassitt is only getting today for the most part, was the first inning, a 1-2-3 with a strikeout. Should have had 2 strikeouts, but again, unfortunately didn't happen. It's fine, though. Then we get to the bottom of the first. Lindor with a base knock. Jeff McHits with a walk. Alonso reaches on fielder's choice. Great play there by Lindor. He was between second and third and just stood there. He didn't bolt to third because it kind of froze the third baseman of the, who was it? Wisdom? Whoever it was for the Cubs on not knowing how to act. He only got the force out at second, McNeil. Lindor then trot into third. So that was a very smart play by Lindor. Lindor didn't have a bad day, but again, very few positives on the offensive standpoint. If you're not named, Eduardo Escobar, James McCann, and Francisco Lindor, even though I'm not at all wowed or impressed by his bomb. It was awesome to see him get a home run, but it's not like it meant anything at that point. It wasn't like the Mets had runners on or anything, and that's not his fault for not having runners on there. But the point is again, the Mets got a bomb at the absolute time where it didn't mean literally anything. But before we get there, guys, you see Alonso reaches on fielder's choice. Vogie with a walk, and then Mark Canha strikes out to end the inning. Mets do not score when they have bases loaded in the first, and quickly, for the first of multiple times in this game, it would come back to bite them in the ass. At the top of the second, Ortega rips a solo bomb to right off of Chris Bassitt. That's where you could already tell that Bassitt is not having his best stuff. It's a 1-0 lead through 2 for, yes, that being in the Chicago Cubs, the team that is on pace for easily 90 plus losses this season. Whoop-de-doo. And the top of the third, Rivas with a walk for the Cubs. McKinstry rips a 2-run bomb to make it a 3-0 ball game. Suzuki with a single, and then Framil Reyes, who had some huge eye paint today, put it into a double play to end the inning. So you're down by 3 in the third. Okay, so again, Mets had bases loaded in the first. Really, that's coming back to haunt you, as Assad would get in a groove, and the Cubs never looked back. They held the lead. They held it all game long. Lindor in the third, guys, in the bottom of the third with a walk. Jed McNeil reaches on a fielder's choice. They miss a double play. Alonso flies out to end the inning. In the fourth, Happ with a walk. He gets to second base on an Alonso error, missing the pickoff. Thankfully, after that, Alonso makes a nice play, even though that would still lead to runs happening after that. A wisdom ground out. McNeil can get to the ball. Alonso dives between first and second, tosses it to Seabass. There's one away. Ortega rips down the third baseline, an RBI single. That brings in the fourth run of the day for the Cubs. It's 4-0 already here in the fourth. Higgins with a ground out, and Rivas with a bloop RBI single, mishandled by Canha. The runner comes in. It's 5-0 Cubs. Seabass's day is done after only 3.2 innings, 5 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts on 73 pitches. Now, again, as frustrating as it was to see Seabass not have his stuff today, one, this loss is still on the offense wholeheartedly. The bullpen was great. That's a plus. Offense was a negative. Well, that we've said, I feel like every other day, right? Or every other couple days at minimum. Seabass has been literally lights out. Entering this start, he had a 1.73 ERA his past 7 starts. He has been rock solid. He has been an absolute stud in that number 3 spot in the Mets rotation for easily a month and a half to 2 months now. He's not, again, I'm not going to gripe much about Seabass. Shit happens. They're not always going to have your best stuff. But unfortunately for the Mets, their lack of offense, again, was on full display in dropping this one by a total of 5-1, guys. But in the top of the fourth, guys, we see Mark Canha reaches on an error. Eddie with a single. That includes his 10-game hitting streak then, killing it from the left side of the plate. Naquin with a strikeout, and then James McCann with a 2-out RBI base knock to bring in the Mets. 2-out RBI base knock. McCann is batting right around 400 in September. Mets catchers that we emphasized in the podcast earlier today, Bleav in Queens episode 21. Check it out. Audio wherever you get your audio podcasts, and video on the YouTube channel. It is pinned. It is the first video you'll see if you click on the channel. I'm pretty sure. I mean, catchers have been really good hitting for the Mets for the past couple weeks now. That's great to see. But unfortunately, the rest of the Mets offense just did not show up when they need him to. And then Nimmo strikes out to end the inning. Nimmo had some brutal at-bats today. I expected better from Nimmo. He had favorable matchups against Assad. If you look at the pitch mix for Assad, Nimmo doesn't have bad numbers when you're looking at the cutter and the sinker especially. And lefty on lefty wasn't able to do anything either later in the game when you saw Hughes come in, the reliever, one of the better relievers, if not the best reliever for the Cubs. But we then get guys to the fifth. Tommy Hunter, who again got 1 out in relief for Seabass the inning before to end the inning. He then comes in with a 1-2-3 inning in the fifth, and that starts the great bullpen outing from the New York Mets today. In the sixth, after the Mets do nothing in the bottom of the fifth, Trevor May, his first outing back coming off of the COVID list, 1-2-3, including a couple punchies. Trevor May, that's a great sight to see. Mets are getting more bullpen reinforcements. It's been announced by Buck Showalter that they expect Tyler McGill back, and now the bullpen for the Mets by this weekend. So again, more positives on the bullpen front are coming for the Mets. And the bottom of the sixth, 2 outs. Eddie with a triple. Naquin strikes out to end the inning. Again, Eddie ripped one just shy of a dead center home run. Or was it to right? Wherever, I think it was more center right. That gets him to third. Unfortunately, 2 outs. Naquin didn't have good at-bats today either. He wasn't the only one, and that strikeout would end the inning. And that would end the day for Assad as well, through 6 innings, only allowing 5 hits and 1 earned run, including 6 strikeouts. He had a nice outing, unfortunately, for the Cubs. And I say unfortunately for Mets fans' sake. We then get guys to the 7th inning. Michael Givens strikes out the side. Again, it sucks because I feel like Givens has been having stronger outings when the Mets don't win. And that sucks to say because that goes in hand with when the Mets want to bring in Givens. They've been trusting him more in late in games when they're already down, and not so much. We haven't seen him in there as many games when the Mets are winning. But as of late, Michael Givens has just gotten better and better after being horrendous to start his tenure with the Mets, being acquired by them at the trade deadline. Givens' season ERA now is down to 3.47, which is not far off at all where it was when the Mets acquired him. So Givens is getting better. That's great to see, and it wouldn't be the last inning for him in this one either. But in the 8th, guys, McKinstry with a single, Suzuki with a single, and again, this is 2nd inning where we see Givens pitching. McCann throws out Suzuki with ease at second base. Poor base running by the Cubs. Runners on 1st and 3rd, no outs. I don't know why they were running there. Strike him out, throw him out, double play. Beautifully done by McCann, who again had another solid day both defensively and offensively. Happ intentionally walked for a potential double play, but Wisdom would strike out to end the inning. In the bottom of the 8th, McNeil with an infield single. He dives to first base. Mets start looking like they're going to get a rally going here in the 8th inning. And farthest thing from the truth eventually. Leiter would be out of the game then. Mark Leiter, who of course is related to Al Leiter, is his nephew and his cousins with Jack Leiter, who might be the best of them all. If you know, Texas Rangers top draft pick last year. Leiter out. Rodriguez, the right-hander, comes in for the Cubs. Alonso with a base knock. Vogelback with a walk. Michael Givens comes in to pinch run, and this was a little bit of a head scratcher for me because Givens, who again has really never ran the bases in the entirety of his MLB career. Has some speed apparently, but you have at first bases low, no outs. It didn't mean anything at the end of the day, but still, in that moment, I'm like, why is Buck taking out the DH when he could have the fastest man alive on the bench and Gore running first? Yes, you could pinch hit for Givens, the pitcher spot. If the Mets got to it again this game, they were not, because again, the offense was lackluster, but it was just a little odd to me, but I guess I understood it to a degree. So bases juiced, no outs for the Mets in the 8th. Surely they would score at least one run here. No, they would not. Of course they wouldn't. Then you see there, Mark Canha with a strikeout, a absolute brutal call on him. But again, the Mets got a call their way on the same pitch. It was a slider down away. It went the Mets' way. I think it was a Trevor May pitch earlier in the game. You saw there, it was in favor of, Rodriguez. And that was already an 0-1 count when it should have been 1-0. Canha eventually strikes out. Rodriguez comes out of the game. They bring their southpaw on Hughes. Eddie batting from the right side of the plate, has not been batting nearly as well from the left side of the plate. It's crazy how he's flip-flop now. But again, he's seen more pitches, again, as a lefty batter than righty, so I'm not griping much now. It's great to see him actually hitting when he's supposed to for the most part. Eddie flies out, and then Darren Ruff comes in to pinch hit over Mark Vientos I griped about earlier in the show. He flies out to right to end the inning. So Mets have bases loaded for a second time tonight. Do not score any runs. And again, that's the story of their game. This is why they lost this ball game. And the 9th, guys, Joely with a 1-2-3 inning, including a couple of strikeouts. Happy for you, Joely. But again, you're still not a guy I trust. And I would not be surprised if you're DFA'd. I kind of hope you're DFA'd once you have to make the more roster moves in the likes of Tyler McGill. Same thing with Drew Smith. And if the Mets do want to give any opportunities at all to Mr. Joey Fuego, Joey Lucchesi before the year ends. But again, that might be on the outside looking in right now. We'll see. Lindor with a solo bomb in the bottom of the 9th, and the Mets would lose this one 5-2. You guys tell me, please talk about Ruff. What do you guys want me to talk about with Ruff? I've been talking about it every day. We're all watching this guy together. I can't begin to tell you how pissed off I am and how underwhelmed I am by Darren Ruff. I was happy with the acquisition when the Mets made it. I wasn't mad by the Mets giving up J.D. Davis and those other pieces, because regardless of J.D. thriving in San Francisco, he was never going to do that shit here this season. You could not tell me otherwise. He's clearly a guy benefiting from a change of scenery, different coaching staff, different guys in his ears, and again, being now around his hometown because he's from Northern California. The prospects, so yeah, this has been a complete flop of a trade. Darren Ruff in a limited role is pressing like no tomorrow. He's not having good at-bats, and I want Mark Vientos over him at this juncture, either as starting DH against lefties at minimum, or late in the game pinch hitting. Why wouldn't you consider Vientos when you're losing like this? Why don't you at least consider it? You have nothing to lose, Buck. Again, I love Buck Showalter to death. He has won so many games for the Mets this year, but especially as the Mets have been around a 500 ball club over the past 10 plus games, you're seeing more and more of the decisions that Buck's making that you can give rightful criticism towards. And the biggest thing has been his bullpen management, mainly Joely Rodriguez, among others. Again, I'm not that fan to nitpick every single thing. I'm not the guy that says the sky's falling after every time the Mets leave the bases loaded. But things need to be better, and they need to be consistent, okay? Because if you do not get to this consistent level, let's say hypothetically, and again, it's funny me talking about this, because if the Mets go on to dominate the next 2 games and win this series comfortably, and hopefully the Braves lose at least 1 game in San Francisco, it's not going to mean anything then, at least in the short term. But for right now, when you look at what the Mets are doing, if they continue to be, say, just above a 500 club, they're destined to still get 100 wins on the year. They need to win 11 games with their last 21 to be 100 wins on the year. They're kind of looming between 500 to end the year, regardless on if they're in first or second place in the division. That is not the type of momentum that you want entering playoffs. We all know the story. You saw it with the Brewers year after year. You've seen it with many clubs. If you do not enter playoff time with momentum on your side, with a swagger on your side, things have a greater chance of not going your way. And every team that gets hot down the stretch in the final month and a half to 2 months of the season, those are the teams that more often than not have a great chance to succeed. Yes, the Cardinals last year lost in that that game against the Dodgers. Didn't it go to extras, I think? Yeah, they lost in a walk-off to the Dodgers in the wild card. But the Cardinals had a really close game against the Dodgers team that was star-stud, always has been last year. Just as an example, and the Cardinals were the best team in baseball in the second half last year, especially in the last final couple months. We saw that I think they swept the Mets at home when the Mets were free-falling late last year in either August or September, whatever it was. So the point I'm trying to make is that this loss, as frustrating as it is, what matters most to me is that the Mets, they need to get themselves on a consistent level here, because if they do not get themselves on a consistent level entering playoffs, they're going to have problems. You want momentum. That is what you want. They have time to build this momentum, but after each game of going 500 ball, that momentum will be continuing to drop lower and lower and lower. So that is why I'm flustered the way that I am. Not just because you're supposed to be beating the absolute shit out of teams like this, but more than anything, because these are teams that are supposed to be your momentum boosters, that are supposed to give you that, that gravitas, if you will, that, again, momentum down the stretch here when you have the easiest fucking schedule of all teams in baseball entering September, and you go 5-5 through the first 5. It's inexcusable. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's inexcusable. This team needs to be better. And again, hopefully, Jake pitches a stud game tomorrow. I fully expect it. Hopefully, the offense gives him runs, because let's not forget the last time Jake pitched, he got 11 runs for him in that doubleheader against the Pirates. So hopefully he gets at least 5+ runs tomorrow, and the Mets get a comfortable win. And then hopefully, with assuming Trevor Williams starting the game on Wednesday over Peterson. Peterson's probably going to be coming out of the bullpen down the stretch now to get him ready for playoffs. Hopefully the Mets get the series win. But this was a ridiculous game. And I hate that I'm saying this, because I feel like I'm saying this every couple days. I haven't been going live after every loss because I'm either been too frustrated, there's nothing to say, or 2, I haven't even been around. So, I mean, this is annoyed. Annoyed is what I want to say, is how I feel right now. This was a frustrating game for the Mets. And again, guys, thank you all so much for chiming in. Here my little post-game rant. Mets are so bipolar right now, 100%. And because they're bipolar, they're making myself bipolar. My emotions ride with this team. And again, is it healthy? No, but no true sports fan is healthy when you live or die with each game. I mean, I'm a content creator. I cover this team on a daily basis. No shit, I'm not happy today. Regardless of the Mets winning, I mean, I'm not that type of fan where regardless of the Mets winning or losing, I can have a great day. Even if I'm having a lot of fun being out of town, if I know the Mets lost when they should have won a game, it still bothers me. That still lingers. And that's going to linger. But again, the beauty of baseball, and also the curse, as I alluded to, is that everything's short-term. Everything's 24 hours, right? So we'll see how the Braves do tonight. But frustrating game. Frustrating game, guys. Help us get 100 likes for the first short-term goal. Greatly appreciate it. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. Man, just a frustrating game. I got nothing else, guys. I'm gonna get out of here. I've gotten such little sleep lately. I've been going to bed almost when the sun's coming up lately. That's how bad it's been for me. So I need to try to go to bed at a reasonable time. It's getting close to 11 p.m. Eastern here. So apologies for the short show today, guys, but I just don't got much for you. And I just don't have much patience. A loss like this pisses me off. I want to sleep it off and go on to the next. How's it going, Hog? I know your Padres haven't been doing well. My Mets, again, they're so Jekyll and Hyde right now. It's driving me insane. But thank you guys all so much for watching again. I love you all to death. Stay tuned. We'll be live tomorrow with Jacob deGrom taking the mound, watching out of the Seahawks game. Maybe I will. I don't know. I really don't care too much, but maybe I'll throw it on. But again, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Love you to death. Appreciate you all. We'll be back live tomorrow, hopefully after a W. But until then, have a great rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this. This is Wardy signing out. And no matter what, as pissed off as I am right now, no matter what, let's go Mets. Deuces, guys.